Welcome to the Alcohol Reset, the podcast that helps you reset your habits, health, and relationship with alcohol without judgment or extremes. If you're looking to cut back, take a break, or just understand how drinking can affect your body and mind, you're in the right place. Each episode brings you science-backed insights on neuroscience, nutrition, and habit change to help you feel better, sleep deeper, and take control on your terms. I'm Mike Hardenbrook, best-selling author, neuroscience enthusiast, and habit change expert. I've helped thousands through my book and podcast to rethink their drinking, and now I'm here to help you do the same. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Mike Hardenbrook. Today, we're exploring something I think most of us have probably noticed or thought about. It's how we sometimes change, how we act when we've had a few drinks. That sort of different version of ourselves that can show up. We're going to look into why that happens and maybe more importantly, what it means for you. We'll be drawing on some ideas found in the drinking persona and real self. So first off, let's just acknowledge how common drinking alcohol actually is. I mean, globally, it's everywhere, though rates do vary quite a bit, depending on things like age or gender, where you live. But it's really important here to differentiate between different kinds of drinking. We're not just talking about having one drink now and then. There's also data on what's called alcohol use disorders, AUDs. That's where drinking causes real problems in someone's life. And interestingly, AUDs often go unnoticed or untreated. But for our chat today, we're mainly thinking about the whole spectrum, everything from a casual social drink right through to more regular habits, and how our behavior can kind of shift along that line. Now, here's a really interesting concept: alcohol myopia. Heard of it? Basically, when we drink, alcohol tends to dampen our higher level thinking. You can kind of picture it like your brain's vision getting narrower, tunnel vision almost. It makes us focus much more on what we want right now, what's immediately in front of us. And those longer term consequences, while they tend to fade out a bit, become less important in the moment. This can really explain why maybe you or someone you know does or says things after drinking that the sober version wouldn't dream of. It's that impulsivity kicking in, driven by that narrowed mental focus. And what's fascinating is that even, relatively small amounts of alcohol can impact our ability to make complex choices, especially under pressure, even if we feel okay. So what's going on inside our heads chemically to cause this? Well, alcohol directly gets involved with the brain's reward system. It affects neurotransmitters, chemical messengers like dopamine. Dopamine is huge for pleasure, motivation, that good feeling you might get. That's the reward system activating. But this fiddling with brain chemistry can also change how we see ourselves. Suddenly, you might feel like the life of the party, maybe overly confident, or perhaps you take bigger risks. It encourages acting on those immediate impulses. It's also pretty interesting to think about personality, our underlying traits. How do they link up with drinking habits and this drinking persona? Research actually shows connections. Things like extroversion, being really outgoing, or neuroticism, maybe worrying more, seem to relate to different drinking patterns. This might help explain why some people seem to change quite dramatically when they drink, while others, well, they seem pretty much the same. And of course, we absolutely can't ignore the social side of things, the environment. Think about it, especially when we're younger, maybe in college or just starting out. Social norms, what our friends are doing, it can heavily shape how much and how we drink. This social piece can really play a big part in creating and maintaining a drinking persona. You might act a certain way with one group because, well, that's just what happens in that group. It's expected, or at least accepted. Okay, so why spend time thinking about all this? Why does it matter to you? Well, actually becoming aware of the gap, the difference between your drinking self and your sober self, that can be incredibly insightful. It can genuinely lead to better self-understanding, maybe open up paths for personal growth. Once you start noticing those shifts, you can ask some useful questions like, what's really driving my behavior in those moments? And let's not forget the real world impact on relationships, for example. If drinking starts causing issues, it can definitely strain things with family, with friends, misunderstandings, arguments. But the flip side is also true. Getting a better handle on drinking can really improve communication, strengthen those connections. Plus, the physical health benefits are pretty significant. We're talking better liver function, improved sleep, maybe easier weight management, and mentally, less anxiety, potentially lowering risks of depression or cognitive decline down the line. It adds up. Think about productivity too. Your work, your personal goals. When you're managing alcohol intake well, you generally find you have better focus, clearer decision making. And that can really boost things, both professionally and personally. Now, I know talking about this brings up some common questions, big ones, like, do I have a drinking problem or am I an alcoholic? Look, it's complex. Dependence is serious. There are good resources out there for self-assessment, and talking to a professional is always an option if you're concerned. Another frequent question is about control. How can I manage my drinking better? Things like setting limits before you start, maybe tracking how much you actually drank, understanding your personal triggers. These strategies can really help. And what about shifting that drinking persona if you want to? That often involves learning to handle social pressure differently, finding healthier ways to cope with, say, stress or social awkwardness, and building a stronger sense of who you are without alcohol. Talking to friends who might not get it can be tough too. Being clear, honest about your reasons, that's usually the best approach. The source material mentions some powerful, anonymized stories. People who recognize their drinking persona and made changes. These journeys aren't always simple, but the self-awareness gained is often huge. And just think about those common scenarios. Maybe you become super loud at parties or really emotional after a couple of glasses. Recognizing those patterns is step one. So what practical things can you actually do? Mindfulness can be surprisingly effective. Just paying more attention. How do you feel? How are you acting while you're drinking? That awareness is key. Then there are approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. That focuses on changing negative thought patterns, including those related to alcohol. And remember, setting small, realistic goals usually works much better than trying to overhaul everything overnight. Gradual change tends to stick. Building a support system helps too. Friends, family, maybe even professional help. It's also worth mentioning some current trends. There's definitely growing interest in mindful drinking, people making conscious choices to moderate. Technology is even getting involved in apps, wearables to help track intake, and maybe, just maybe, social norms around really heavy drinking are starting to shift a bit. Before we finish, let's quickly bust a couple of common myths. That old idea, a little alcohol is good for you. Yeah, current science mostly points to risks, even with moderate amounts. Best to be aware of that. And a thought, oh, I can stop whenever I want. For someone truly struggling with dependence, it's rarely that simple. It's a real challenge. Finally, does alcohol make you more social or confident? Well, maybe temporarily, but it's often a fleeting effect, and sometimes it can be kind of misleading. So wrapping this up with the main takeaway, I think it's that understanding your drinking persona, really seeing how your behavior might shift, can be a powerful catalyst. A step towards greater self-awareness, better choices, and honestly just overall well-being. Maybe take a quiet moment later to reflect on your own experiences. How do things change for you? What parts of that persona might be hiding, or maybe exaggerating parts of your real self? Thinking about that difference. Well, who knows what insights that might unlock for you. Thanks for listening today. That's a wrap for today's episode. If you got something out of this, do me a quick favor, leave a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It helps keep the show going and would mean the world to me. Got ideas, comments, or questions? Shoot me an email at mike@trycloud9.com. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're looking for extra support, check out Cloud9, makers of Daily Restore, a once-a-day supplement to support your body from alcohol's effects, and Rise and Unwind AM/PM, a 24-hour combo to curb cravings, balance mood, and improve sleep when taking a break. Go to trycloud9.com and use the code PODCAST to save 15% on your next order. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.